everyone, I'm Alexandra Bell, and welcome back to my Momifesto, a soft place to land online. And the manifesto of this Momifesto is that there are no rules. We are all perfectly imperfect, knowing that there's no one-size-fits-all credo. In fact, our belief system as mamas is pretty diverse and varied, as you will soon see here on today's show. So this episode will focus on the first few months bringing home baby. Is it all a blur or etched forever? Can you recall those foggy, sleep-deprived, woeful, challenging, beautiful, fleeting, but not moments? I know I can, and I think my guests can too, or at least we're going to try. So get ready. I think it's time that we share some experiences here today on My Momifesto, starting with our first guests. So I'm sitting here with two beautiful mama friends. I have the lovely Lauren and Vanessa getting ready to share their perspective on what it's been like bringing home baby.
It was really eye-opening for sure. Like, you learn a lot about what to do with a baby, but you don't learn a lot about like you and all the stuff that happens with you, like the contractions after. I was like, what? Nobody told me about this.
Yeah, after pains.
And yeah, like the sleep deprivation definitely affected me a lot. And I found that really challenging. But luckily, my son was born at the end of June, so it was nice and summery out. So yeah, I guess one of my strategies was if I didn't get a lot of sleep, I was outside walking. Because otherwise I would eat myself out of house and home to stay awake.
Yeah.
So,
well, help yourself to these cinnamon buns.
Yeah.
What did you find that experience to be like?
Well, I'm fortunate my husband is a very good partner, and we sort of shared a lot of responsibilities, and I was definitely up all night with breastfeeding, but then he would do the first feed in the morning, and he would give the baby a bottle, and I got an extra hour in there, so that was a big help, which was huge. And then I think, you hear this advice all the time as a new mom, sleep when baby sleeps. And I have to say it actually is true. You should nap. Yeah. And so I napped a lot.
I think I dealt with like a bit of anxiety, and all of a sudden you just feel so overwhelmed and you didn't really know why, or I don't know if you felt that way too.
It's a big change, and you're never going to go back to the way it used to be. And I think that was probably the hardest part, was realizing, oh, this is the new normal, right?
Totally.
Like,
I remember that feeling of being like, I'm always going to be in charge of this thing now. Like, I can never just do me anymore. It's always just like this little thing is going to always be relying on me. And that was just like,
it's a lot to take in.
Yes.
The first few months are dominated by diaper changes and feeding. So tell me about how you managed that.
Breastfeeding was great. Like, came pretty easy to me.
Yep.
But I found pumping and all that kind of gave me anxiety, because every time I'd pump, and sometimes you'd get lots and you'd be like, and other times you wouldn't get that much and you'd get all stressed out about your supply, and I definitely was nervous to start pumping early on, because I thought it would affect my supply, because I had like oversupply, and then I was like, I don't want my body thinking that I need more.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So I was definitely quite nervous about it. I think the second time around I'll probably be a bit more mellow and just pump and whatever, but it was definitely a roller coaster ride for me.
Well, I could sit here and talk to Lauren and Vanessa for many more moons, but I've got more mamas that I need to speak with today. I've got the beautiful Tamara and Kyla waiting. They're just dying to talk to me, and neither of them are very shy. We're going to go and keep this conversation rolling, so come with me. So excited to sit down with my bistro beauties. Right now, I want to introduce you to the lovely Tamara and Kyla. I think we should just explore the topic, bringing home babe. First few months when you bring home babe, you're dealing with sleep deprivation. And I think the first time around, there's a degree of delirium. Like, you're just not used to that type of constant waking. Did you have a strategy in dealing with your sleep deprivation?
No, I think you just kind of roll with it. You're in a fog, right? So maybe you're not thinking like strategically at that moment. No, you're just kind of answering the bell, right?
Okay.
It's like the baby is crying and you are going, and sometimes it's like, and sometimes you're happy to see them, right? So I feel like you're just doing it. Right?
Yeah.
And maybe you're
roll with the punches.
Right. That's it.
The first few months, really think back, even the first couple of weeks, you're in this fog, and I think it can be quite emotional. You've got people wanting to visit, maybe you need space, maybe you're actually craving more visitors. Some people find it a little alienating to suddenly just be home with a baby, especially if their partner has to zip back to work, right? Like, it's just so much to take on. Was it an emotional time for you in that way? Do you remember those first few weeks and how you kind of handled your emotions?
Breastfeeding was such a skill that I did not get. And so I was like, and just the coordination after, like the way her body had to be and mine had to be, and so I just did it topless, and pretty much I did it with whoever happened to be around at the time. So that was where it was like, there was some guests that I felt more comfortable being in my house, good friends, versus, my father-in-law possibly.
Yeah, sure.
So at that moment, didn't feel like, especially in those early days, that it was like just taking care of them was such a full-time job. Like, just that they were always eating or being changed, or like just that there was like a constant level of activity.
Because it really is.
So actually, like leaving the house was so hard. It was so great that when people came in,
that felt like a feat. I remember leaving the
leaving,
house for the
it was
first
like you had
time.
to kind of get your head around
How was that going to work?
Yeah,
I remember putting the baby in the Bjorn and taking my 2 dogs on a walk. The prep for that when you're just with a newborn was monumental. So
and then or completing a grocery shop with the baby not crying at the checkout. That was kind of the goal. It's like I've got 45 minutes, and so that's it, right? And if I can get back home before they're wanting to be fed, right? That was like
a friend taught me how to feed when Zoe was in the baby Bjorn, taught me how to breastfeed her, and it was like freaking life changing.
Yeah, that would
that was like, because I could walk around and
you could
also,
shop and feed.
So and it was like everything, and she was happy, and it was like all the things at the same time. I go, wow! For somebody who loves efficiency, that was like.
Guys, we're in the trenches. I consider this the trenches. These first few years, they are so fun, they're funny, they're hard, they're all those things. Like, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't hard. Some days are just really hard, but I don't know, when I'm not with my babies, I miss them, I love them, and so, it's good to recall those first few months, because yes, there is some struggle, but there still is a lot of bliss, and that's why I wanted to cover this topic with you guys today.
That's why I'm so done having kids. That when I hear about that baby smell and the swaddle, it's like, oh my God, right? That just never gets old, right?
No. All right. We really were able to dig in, not just conversation, cinnamon buns, we've made a few dents, and now it's time to check in with the lovely Cathy Carter, a birthing educator. She's been at it for more than a decade, and she also teaches CPR and knows a thing or two about babies, so I think that we have a lot to learn. I attempted an introduction, but I'd like Cathy to fill in some blanks. Cathy, what is it exactly that you do, or I should say, what don't you do, because your skills run the gamut.
I do a number of things. I'm a CAP certified childbirth educator as well as a doula. I'm also a sleep specialist. I do first aid CPR for all ages, but I also specialize in children and infants as well. And I also do Bring Home Baby, which is through the Gottman Institute. It's just building relationships after having a baby, because as we all know, the dynamics change after that. So
boy, do they ever.
A lot of different things.
Tell us a little bit about what's going on from the baby's perspective.
So when you bring home your baby has been in the womb for so long. So now we're on the outside and they're really not sure what's happening. So we do consider that first 3 months, like the fourth trimester, life outside the womb. They still need to be held a lot. They still need to be cuddled a lot. They still need that skin to skin. They still need to feel your heartbeat. They need to feel you breathing in order to feel comfortable. So for some moms, that can be really difficult, because I even had a mom this morning message me, my baby is 6 weeks old, I cannot put him down. How do you get them to go down on their own? But they're used to being with somebody all the time. So it's a hard transition for them to slowly work their way out of the womb, right?
Yeah. And so is there like advice you offer new moms, new dads to kind of help ease that transition?
Well, in the early weeks, it can be really tough. And as people always say, sleep when the baby sleeps. And you can't always sleep, especially if you've had their children. Like, you just can't. So rest, right? Give your other older children something to do and then just rest. Put your feet up. It makes a really big difference. And then just know that it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
Enjoy those baby snuggles, because one day you'll want them back. You're like, oh, I forgot what it was like when they just snuggled up on my chest. It was really lovely. But in the moment, you're exhausted. You're healing from childbirth, and it's really tough. And it does get better. The older they get, the easier it gets. Roughly around the 6 to 8 week mark, you can start to put them down a little bit more often, get them used to being out of your arms a little bit more, and it gets better with time. But enjoy it, because you get a baby for a very short amount of time. You get a child forever.
Talk about this postpartum depression. It's so prevalent. I think it's being talked about more. But are there any signs that moms should know about? Like, especially if you're a first-time mom, what would you say to look for?
It's postpartum mood and anxiety disorders. So there's many different avenues of that. Some women can be depressed. Some women can be very irritable, miserable, angry. Some women can have that anxiety that just does not pass and it just doesn't go away. So often women will have baby blues in the beginning, and that's completely normal. 8 out of 10 women experience baby blues, and that's just crying and feeling tired and, kind of guilty feelings. Am I doing this right? And, always questioning yourself, and that's normal. When we get past about that 6 week mark and we get into, 3 months or 6 months down the road or 10 months down the road or a year down the road, and you're still not feeling okay, you're still constantly worried if that baby's sleeping okay or driving with the baby, you're feeling helpless, you're feeling hopeless, can't cope with normal daily activities, don't want to be around your friends, don't want to leave your home, don't want to drive with the baby, don't want to be around your partner, don't enjoy doing things that you normally do. And then on the extreme side, psychosis, you might have hallucinations, thoughts of harming yourself or your baby, very extreme behaviors, very, very high, very, very low, that you need to see, you need to go to the emergency room immediately.
So, Cathy, this was amazing, just being able to hear what you have to say, and I hope everybody was listening and maybe even taking notes, because there's so much valuable advice you have to offer. Well, I wanted to thank everybody. I've squished everybody together on the window bench, and it is for a purpose. It's so that I can thank you all. You guys were brave, you shared your viewpoints, and that's asking a lot, I think. It's sometimes hard to just get it out there, and that's what we're doing at My Momifesto. So thank you so much to these beautiful mamas. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. And thank you guys for watching, because we're doing this so that we can all share our views together. And I couldn't ask for anything more. So yeah, from me to you, I just wanted to thank everybody, and we'll see you next time.